Welcome to the Go Big Redcast, the Husker Fan Sports Show.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast. This is our LunchCast edition, and I am Redcast Rob, and I'm here with our very special guest from CD East High School in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. 2023 recruit, 6'5", 280 pounds, 4'7" in the 40, and psyched to be coming to Nebraska. Vincent Carroll-Jackson, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you today, Rob?
Oh, man, I am fantastic. I really appreciate you coming on the show today. I'm really looking, especially with this new coaching staff, to get a good insight on what your recruiting journey looked like coming to Nebraska was. I mean, considering that basically, you signed on signing day, and you had barely even received the offer at that point. And I just kind of want to talk with you a little bit about how that process went for you. I want to talk with you about high school. I mean, you only played 1 year, and how you got to that point, because I know that maybe back in like 7th grade or so, 8th grade, they had approached you about playing and you just basically said no. You have some pretty interesting hobbies. You are on record saying nice things about the state of Nebraska and the city of Lincoln. You've already made some friends with your fellow recruits. There are so many things about you that I find so interesting. So why don't we just go ahead and get right to it? How do you think about that?
I'm ready. Let's dive in.
Oh, all right, man. So, all right, you're in what, 7th or 8th grade? And you were approached, I think, by some of the coaches at the high school, right? And they wanted you to come play freshman football. Is that right? And and you didn't do it. So maybe you can talk about why you didn't play football back then, what you did all those years, and then why it is you ended up playing this year.
So I was actually at a different school for my 7th and 8th grade year. I had tried my hand at freshman football after Little Leagues. And I was in 7th grade, and the coaches there basically told me I would never get any playing time until I'm a 9th grader, because they want all the 9th graders to always start and have the playing time, because they're about to go up to varsity and JV. So that kind of just threw me off to the point where I no longer wanted to play football anymore. So I just started working. Got my first job at 14. I was working at a place called Hershey Park. It's a pretty popular area.
Mm-hmm.
I was working 5 days a week, 8-hour shifts every day for 5 days every week. So I had kind of just gotten used to just working like that, working period in general. Plus, it's also I come from a pretty big family, so it's like everybody does their part kind of situation. So working wasn't really too much for me. The hard work was something I enjoyed, honestly. It was a way to take my mind off of everything.
Okay. And so fast forward, it's spring of last year, your junior year, right? And I mean, what happened? Like I saw something that said that the coaches approached you, wanted you to at least just come out and see how you felt about it. And what happened from there?
Right. So I was in Coach Dean's strength and conditioning class, and we were working out together pretty much every day. I went to a little bit of the winter workouts, but I wasn't really fully committed to football. I was still working about 5, 6, 7 days out of the week. So around springtime, he basically said to me, or a little bit before springtime, he basically said to me, if I came out and poured 100%, 110% of my effort into football, he couldn't promise, but he would guarantee he could do everything in his power to try and get me to play at the next level. And I'm just like, we're both like, what do I really have to lose? It's my senior year. If nothing else, I can just say I did it to did. So we kind of made a promise to each other right then and there. And I came out for spring ball, showed out a bit during our spring fling competition. It was about like 8 other schools there, and we were just working a lot during the off season. I was getting solo training in a lot, and I was just working on my craft, and they were helping me. And the season came around, and it all paid off.
Yeah. So fast forward, then the season starts, and you're around in week 4, and colleges start showing out for you, right? I mean, Minnesota was there, a few other schools were there, and you know the offers started coming in. Like, what did that feel like? Because you had 6 Power 5 offers. I mean, throughout the season, if I'm counting that right, or at least through to the point where you committed with Nebraska. And some of those schools are no joke. I mean, there's like Florida, Georgia, Rutgers, Syracuse is on there, Pittsburgh was on there. I mean, obviously Pittsburgh for you, that's kind of an honor because they're local, right? I mean, for you, that's in-state offer. Um, you know, how did that like make you feel? Not to sound too much like a psychologist or anything, but how did that make you feel? Like all of a sudden you're 4, 5, 6 games into a season, and all of a sudden you're starting to get offers from these big schools. Like, did it kind of make everything seem a little bit more real at that point?
I mean, I was definitely overwhelmed in a good way at first, and I was definitely appreciative of it. But a part of me also thought I didn't deserve it because I felt like I hadn't proved myself yet. Um, I still don't feel completely 100% like I do. I still think I got a lot to prove, which obviously I do. But I think when I got those offers, especially when I started getting the Power 5 offers, it was really an eye opener for me. It was really like, wow, I'm really about to do this. I'm really about to take the next step and play where most kids only dream of playing at.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about small percentage of people that end up playing in the NFL, but if you take the overall amount of kids that play high school football and then the number of kids that end up even getting onto a Power 5 roster, I mean, the percentages really drop a lot there. And one of the things about you watching your tape that I noticed, well, first of all, you played offensive line. You were a left tackle, correct? And
Yes.
then and you're 6'5", 280, so I don't care who's lining up on the other side on defense against you. That's a scary thing right there. But you were also playing interior line, right? And you were offered scholarships for both offense and defense, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for you, I guess, what are some of your favorite things about each side of the line, and which side do you feel you're better at? And I guess, and then I have a follow-up question once you answer that. So we'll go from there.
Okay. So I would say as a left tackle, I really enjoyed run blocking because I was able to pancake people a lot, and it was just it was a funny thing because they would get mad. They would really get real mad, but it was really nothing you could do because I'm just gonna keep doing it. Like I remember this one play. It was in our game against I think Chambersburg, a team called Chambersburg, and the ball lined up in front of me, and we said go. It was a run play, and I just drove him back about 15, 20 yards. I drove him into the referee, and then we scored on that play too. And then they blew the whistle. I stopped, and he started swinging on me. Me and the referee both just looked at each other and started laughing because it was like because he was really mad about it. Like me and the ref literally looked at each other and just started laughing about it because we were like, "Are you serious, dude? Like for real?"
Is that like the first time anybody ever made a blindside reference to you? That's because, I watching your tape, I kind of had some very like funny, like when they showed like real live footage of him, playing in high school during that movie. That scene where he pushes the kid so far back during the play and throws him over the fence, I imagine that's probably what that play probably felt like for you at that point.
I get that reference a lot, honestly. It's kind of funny. I don't really see it. I mean, A
Dude,
lot of people.
you're 6'5", 280 pounds, and you're 18 years old. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how much more of a comparison I can make there. I'm sorry.
I don't really see. I don't really do that kind of stuff because I'm really a shy person. Like the attention that I get it just be making me feel funny because I just be like, sometimes I just be like, why,
No,
why?
I hear you because okay, okay, before we get to the defense part, and you and I have talked back and forth quite a bit, so I'll ask you this, but I already know the answer. You're kind of a nerd, not in a bad way, but like you
Hmm.
like to read a lot, right? Like
Yeah.
you read pretty much everything, like everything from fiction to nonfiction. You enjoy historical biographies and comic books and everything. I mean, with that we have a lot in common. Um, so tell me about that. I mean, so you're not playing sports, you're working a lot and you're reading, right? And like one of your proudest accomplishments is what? You told me about this, but
So I actually hold the record in my at CD East Middle back when I was in 6th grade for the most books read and checked out by any student. It's over 200. Probably won't ever get broken again.
yeah, and you read all of them too, right? You didn't just check
Oh,
them out,
100%. No, I
right?
definitely read all of them. I used to read like 6 books a time.
Yeah, and you were telling me too. I mean, and you're not joking around. I mean, you're not reading like Doctor Who. Like you just finished like George R. R. Martin's Game of Thrones series recently, right? Like, is that?
Yeah, like, hold on. Let me see. Look.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
you move
So
that camera. It's
look,
fine.
look. Those are all my stacks of books right now. I
Okay.
got this one. This is a 800-page book. This is 600 pages. I got all of these right here. They're about 1,000 pages each.
Okay.
So
Okay. So
yeah.
you're not just in this for the football, man. You're in this for the education too, right?
Oh,
I mean, this.
100%.
What are you going to major in when you get there?
Business and entrepreneurship.
Okay. Good for you. Good for you. That's going to take you far in life, man. So okay. So we got that out of the way. I felt like we had to talk about that because I think that that's super cool that, you're just kind of like football for you is like, you're allowing the journey to kind of guide you as opposed to, and eventually one day it's all going to click and you're probably going to guide your journey. But, you know, you also play D-line and a lot of the highlights on your film are D-line highlights, right? There's a lot more.
Yeah, that was my
And
coach's fault because I had a lot of offensive pancakes that he didn't put on there as well. So I feel like the defense overshadowed the offense a bit.
okay, which is interesting though, right? So you got an offer from Syracuse to play the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, you got an offer from Nebraska to play the defensive line. And
Right.
then,
So
yeah, so tell me about that.
It was a Syracuse offer, and then Pitt actually came in that same day. They came into school to see me around the evening time, and I got an offer for them as an athlete. And then the next day, early in the morning, I got the Nebraska offer.
Okay. And and there's a funny story behind the Nebraska offer too, because I asked you too. I said, I'm going to ask you about Coach White and how you followed him, but you didn't follow Coach White from Syracuse to Nebraska, did you?
No, I had actually never met Coach White when I went. I never met Coach White before I took the trip to Nebraska. My first time meeting Coach White was on the plane heading to Nebraska for my official visit. We just happened to run into each other.
Okay. Okay. And so tell me about that. So you were at Syracuse, like the defensive line coach and you knew them, you had met them, but you weren't going to be a defensive player there, right? They wanted you as an O lineman, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so coming over to Nebraska and being a defensive guy, so you've spent some time talking, you and Coach Knighton talk a lot, right? And about scheme and all that. And
Mm-hmm.
can I ask you, have they talked to you at all about how you're going to fit into this? They're calling it a 3-3-5. I hate that because it sounds so new and whatever, but it's like, they're going to be running everything out of this, right? Like, and all kinds of stuff. So have they talked to you a little bit about what your role with that could be, will be, might be?
Yeah. So right now because it'll be a 3-man front. We're just going to see, like, when I get up there, which one would suit me best? Would it be playing the 5, 6, and 7 technique, or would it be playing the nose, or the one or the 1 or 2 eye technique? So
Okay. And so what do you think? Like, so we just had a question up there from Brandon Jorgensen, somebody who's listening right now, and he wanted to know like what you think your strengths are in those areas, and how have you been successful on the D line? Like for you, when you line up on the D line, it's a little bit more free than the offensive line, right? With the offensive line sticking to your assignments, all this. With the D line, it's like just run over people and tackle the quarterback or the ball carrier, right? I mean, isn't that as easy as that? Is that how you feel about it, or
it's a bit more complicated than that. A lot of people think that because of the way we clash our bodies with the offensive linemen, but it's that we actually have. So each defensive lineman has a gap responsibility, and we also can't get upfield. Like we got to follow the play, not the player. So basically, we got to have our hands either on the offensive lineman's hip or hands to their outside shoulder right here, so that we can have control over where we want to move them. If we want to turn it into a bull rush, if we want to turn it into a pass rush, if we want to just throw them to the side and things like that. But I would say my strength for a defensive line is my get off. I've been quoted on that very a lot.
Because what's your 40 speed again? We talked about this. Tell me, what's your 40 speed?
A 4.7.
4.7. You're 6'5", 280 pounds with a 4.7 40.
I can move a bit.
Can we be friends? I need more friends like you. No, but so here's what impresses me, man. Like I said, and to our audience that are listening, Vincent and I have talked before the show, and we went through a lot of these things, and this young man is very, very impressive. I will tell you all right now that I've done a few of these interviews, and he is by far the most intelligent kid that I've talked to. And I've talked to, Kevin Williams, and I've talked to Jojo Doman. And the reason I say that is because you've been playing football for about a year, and your understanding of the different techniques and, the different types of, gaps and how to, where you're going to be after only being at a high school level for a year, to me is probably one of the more impressive things that I've heard, right? Like you sound like 100% a football guy. And yet when you talk about yourself, you're like, well, I'm still really early in the process and still trying to figure this out, So I just want to put that out there for you that like, I see you doing some pretty great things just by the way that you've been talking about this, and can we talk a little bit more too about like how on commitment day you decided to go with Nebraska? What made you decide to go with Nebraska, and what do you love about the state of Nebraska so far?
So what really made me decide for Nebraska is how well I connected with the coaches, because when I was up at Syracuse, don't get me wrong, Syracuse is a beautiful place. Upstate New York is very beautiful. The atmosphere is very nice. But when I was up there, the only coach I really had a connection to was Coach Acuff, and he was the defensive line coach, so he wouldn't have been my coach. And I had expressed that to Coach Acuff as well after I made my final decision, and he understood. But it was like when I got to Nebraska, I just had an instant connection with my defensive line coach, my defensive coordinator, the head coach, even the offensive coaches as well. Because it's like it was a lot of guys with similar backgrounds to from me. So it was like I felt like I could, if I had a problem that I was dealing with, I could just come to them and not have to hold my tongue or speak a certain way, because they would understand where I'm coming from and they would get all of that, like all of what I'm going through and things like that. Excuse me.
No, you're fine. So you told me something too, so I want you to tell this too. Who offered you first, and who offered you second at Nebraska, right? And people are probably gonna wonder, what does he mean first and second? But right, you received 2 offers to Nebraska.
Yeah, I did. Okay, so my first offer from Nebraska came from one of our recruiting our recruiting person. It was Coach Mike Wallace. When I had got the Nebraska offer, truth be told, I didn't think much of it, honestly, because I was pretty tired of getting offers at that point. Honestly, it was one of the reasons why I closed my recruiting, because I was tired of that. But about like 2 weeks later, after I took my official visit to Syracuse, Coach Rule, he had finally just got into office up there in Nebraska, and he called me again, and he was just like, "Oh man, I love your film. I love everything about it. I love how raw and athletic you are. I could really see you being something for us." And he was like, "I want to offer you," and I'm like, "What do you mean by that?" He was like, "Yeah, I want to give you an offer." I'm like, "You already got an offer from your school, right?" He's like, "Oh wow, I didn't even know that. I just got up here." But that's how crazy it was. And I was like, "Yeah, I just got an offer." I was like, "I already got an offer for you." And even then, after Coach Rule offered me, it's the head coach and all of that, but I was still like, I really don't care too much for the offer. But it wasn't until the next day, literally the next day after he offered me, he flew down to Pennsylvania. I was his first stop. A lot of people, he posted a little, because he always be posting them cryptic messages.
Yeah, the
posted,
emojis, yeah.
Yeah, he posted he posted a picture of Dauphin County, and a lot of people was like, who's he going to go see, blah, 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 blah. So
I'll be honest, I was Googling like top recruits in Dauphin County. Like I was trying to figure out like who's he going to see. So.
Yeah, no, he had stopped by to see me in the morning, and we were just talking and things like that. And he was like, "Man, I got it," because I was originally planning on going to Colorado that weekend for an official visit. But he was like, "Man, I got to get you up there for a visit to Nebraska, even if it's just for a day, an hour, 2 hours. I got to get you up there just so you can see what it's all about." So I was like, why not? I don't see no harm in it. You flew all this way. You're a head coach, and you flew all this way out here to see me. I don't see no harm in me going out there. So the next day, it was Thursday. The next day, I called him. So I had got the offer Monday. I had got the offer Tuesday. Coach Rule came to see me Wednesday, and I called him Thursday night, and I said, "Set it up. Let's do it. Let's do the full trip." And Friday morning, I was on a plane flying to Nebraska.
Okay. And so tell me about that. What was your visit like?
Actually, I really love, like, I tell people all the time when they ask me how it was, I was like, I really did love Nebraska. Like, I love Lincoln. I love being there. Like, the environment and the atmosphere was just surreal because it was so peaceful. Yeah, it was so beautiful. Like, it's so different from where I'm from. And then because it's a football state, like, it's Nebraska football. That's what it's all about there. The community is just so loving and welcoming to football players or even recruits like that. So it really just made me fall in love with the state of Nebraska because of how beautiful and how welcoming the community was. Like, I really enjoyed my time there.
Well, you're winning the hearts of Nebraskans one word at a time right here, because I can just tell you, I never have lived in Nebraska myself. I grew up in Northern California. My grandfather is from Gothenburg, Nebraska, which is a few hours west of Lincoln. And I just grew up, watching Husker games with my family at that point, and then moved out to Denver and met one of the other hosts on the Redcast. And they invited me to start hanging out, and I really started getting into my Husker fandom probably like 12, 13 years ago. And, I made a few trips out to Lincoln, and I have to agree with you 100%, that a lot of people say, well, there's nothing between, because I live in Colorado now, and a lot of people say there's nothing between Colorado and Lincoln, and that's just a lie. It's just a beautiful drive. There's a lot to see. If you just want to see, the heart of America, drive through Nebraska from the western side to the eastern side, and you'll see it. And it's absolutely beautiful.
Right.
And I grew up in the Bay Area, which is basically just like one giant city that goes from one town to the next, to the next, to the next. And, it's very, like you said, it's very peaceful, and I do love that. So I guess, what is your relationship so far with Coach Knighton? You know, I mean, do you guys talk every day? Do you talk frequently? How's that going?
We talk pretty frequently. I really enjoy Coach Knight. I definitely he's like me. He's new to everything. He's new to the coaching game, and he has a lot of doubts surrounding him because of how new he is, and because he's a former NFL player. But it's like I can see how he's going to shape and change us for the defensive line, because he played the position, and he not only played the position and at the highest level, he was very successful at it. Like he was very successful at it. So he knows what he's talking about, and he had coaching experience because he's up there at Carolina, coaching professionals.
Yeah,
the best of the best at the highest stage. So he obviously has that experience, and I can see that. So what I like about Coach Knighton is how much doubt he has on him, because it's like he's eager to prove it all wrong, and that's kind of like me. I'm eager to prove everybody as well, because I want people to know Husker football is back. Honestly, it's not just a thing I'm saying just to say. Like I truly believe it.
Hold that thought, because no, I think it's good. We've been doing this for almost a half an hour, and I want to do some things we call tweets of the week, right? And you and I have kind of talked about this here a little bit, and let's see here. So this is your day committing, and tell me about this picture, like, and you saw it, like, how did you feel about this? You love this picture, don't you?
Right. So this was actually a second day picture. I took pictures the day before, but I didn't have my mother with me. She flew out a day later, so we had redid a photo shoot just for her, just so she could have that experience. But I really like the way that picture came out. It just looks, it looks really tough. I'm not gonna lie.
You look mean, man. You look also, and 55. Do you wear 55 for a reason? Is there a favorite player or whatnot? Because that's what you wore in high school, right? It was 55.
Yes. There is a reason behind it. It's a bit of an emotional one.
Will you talk about it, or would you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No. So 55 represents 5 plus 5 is 10. 10 times is the number. 10 is the number of times that my dad lied to me.
Okay. All right, and that, I mean, is that a man? That's now you're gonna get me going too. So is that and so that's a big motivator. I know that you told me you live with your mom and your stepdad. So that's do you still have a relationship with him? I mean, if you don't want to talk about this, just tell me to shut up. But.
No, I don't have a relationship with him. It's been 19 years, and he just doesn't care about me. He didn't care about me the way my father was supposed to. He chose something dangerous over raising me, and I can forgive him because I'm old enough to forgive. I'm old enough to understand how to forgive someone.
Yeah.
I can just never forget, because I can never forget what he told me. I can never forget his actions towards me. So it's like after 19 years, there's nothing left that I would need from him. I already have a stepfather who's teaching me a lot of things.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I wasn't really planning on going there, but that's, you know what? Are they going to let you wear 55 at Nebraska? Have you talked about that yet? They are.
Okay. That number's reserved for me. Y'all go see that number.
Good, because
so y'all might as well get y'all
every time I see it though. Now I'm going to think about this story, and I'm going to think about your motivation, and now you're just going to get me fired up even more. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. So the next one, here's the picture. Is this, when did you take this picture?
That was the same day I took the previous picture.
Okay.
They wanted to just take a picture. They wanted to just take a picture with me to get one in and for the books, because it looks good.
Yeah.
And it does, And plus it shows unity. Like, that's the head coach right there, and that's my defensive line coach.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's crazy is look at how much bigger you are than both of those guys, and they both played in the NFL. So, I mean, those aren't small men. Those are not small people, right?
Oh, no, they're definitely not small.
Okay. Yeah, because I just want to point that out for you because they are not small people, and you are probably a good 4 or 5 inches taller than both of them. So that's
I don't know.
well, maybe with the helmet on, maybe it's the helmet that's doing it for him. But yeah, man. Yes, you. In case you haven't noticed, Vincent, you are a large human being. Number 3. Now this is the big one right here, and this is the one that's got me fired up and why I messaged you in the first place. Because I wanted to talk to you, was you said, I'm calling it right now. This is going to be the best college football season we have ever seen. All right. Talk about that. Like, what's the motivation? Like, you put that out into the world. Why?
Yeah, because I mean, if you see the talent pool we're bringing in right now, it's crazy. It's off the chart. We have the talent we're bringing in right now hasn't been seen in a long time for this school. And it's a really strong environment that we're bringing in. We got a lot of star power, and we got a lot of dogs coming in, a lot of young dogs, but dogs willing to bite as well as bark. And plus, overall, just college football overall, like I feel like this is gonna be the big one right here. You know, a lot of people who the world has had their eyes on is about to show, or we're about to show why you've been waiting for us for so long. You know, we're about to give you what you want, and I think honestly, I think we got this in the bag. I think we got a bowl game this year, guys. I think we got a bowl game this year.
You take Vincent. If you take this team bowling, you'll never pay for another meal in the state of Nebraska again. Let me tell you, man. And if you show out in that bowl game, you may never pay for anything ever again in the state of Nebraska. And with the NIL rules, you may not have to anyway. I don't know. I'm not even sure how that works.
Listen, I'm gonna say this. I know for certain our first 2 games we're smashing.
All right.
We're smashing.
So I'll tell you this. I'm going to be at the first 2 games. Honky, who you met before the show, and I are actually making the trip out to Minnesota for that game.
Okay.
And then Colorado is in my backyard. I mean, it's 45 minutes, an hour away from my house. A couple of the other guys with the show, they live in Colorado as well. Honky's coming out for the show. I'm not sure if Redcast Boomer's coming out or not, but that's a big game for us to call it the CU game, and that's a huge rivalry. Mm-hmm. And I can send you some links to some like history on that too, because we did a show on that a couple of years ago when we played them. That's a big game, and regardless of who they have coaching there now, the history between CU and Nebraska is unbridled, and it is probably one of the most hated rivalries that Nebraska has had in a long time, at least from a standpoint in the 90s, I would say. So I mean, it's not an Oklahoma or anything, or even today it even feels like Iowa, but the CU Nebraska rivalry from the old like Big 8, Big 12 days are, you don't see that much hatred between fan bases. I'll say that. Generally, other fan bases we have respect for. I don't think we have any respect for CU fans.
Yeah, no, it's all over.
I'll
Twitter.
Put that out there in the world. So and Honky will probably cut that portion of the show and put it out onto Twitter and everything. So let's see what's next up here. You got ranked as a 4-star yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Like by On3, they ranked you as a 4-star, as the 39th. Was that the 39th overall recruit in Pennsylvania? Is that right?
No, that's actually the 39th overall at my position in the nation.
Position. Oh, in the nation. Okay. And 70th in the country, or how does that work? I'm not even sure. I don't even, all these rankings.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the overall country one is.
Yeah, there's so many different ranking systems, but that's pretty cool to be a 4-star, only playing 1 year out of high school. And talking to you, I know that you are humbled by that, because I've talked to you quite a bit here now and over the last few days, and and that's the truth, and that's awesome. The Redcast says congrats on getting the 4-star.
Thank you.
But one of the interesting things too that I didn't realize until today, and a colleague of mine, Brady Oltman, who handles recruiting over at Hale Varsity, pointed out to me that we hadn't actually had any signees out of the state of Pennsylvania since 1999. And now we have 2, right? We have you.
Yeah, my boy
and
Ramir.
Yeah, and your boy Ramir. And Ramir's he actually plays at one of your rival high schools, right? Didn't you talk about them, a little trash about them? Didn't you beat them this year? Is that right?
No, Ramir plays over in Philly. He plays
Oh,
at
okay.
Imhotep.
Okay.
He
I
plays
thought
at
maybe that
Imhotep.
was, I thought you had mentioned that you had played them or something. And maybe
No.
thinking of something else.
Ramir plays at Imhotep.
Oh, okay. Okay. Maybe, yeah, you had mentioned something else because I know that you had beaten a couple of your rivals this year, and that was kind of a big deal to you because you hadn't beaten them in quite a long time. But that's cool because, obviously Coach Rule played at Penn State, right? And, out of Pennsylvania. And then here's the next one and the reason I bring that up is right here, you said, go ahead and commit right now. You already got family here, boy. And that's to Zachary Brown. And he's a freshman at your high school, but there's something more there, right?
Yeah. That's my little cousin. He's a dog. But I'm trying to tell him, I'm like, I really don't care what other offers you get. You're coming here.
So you're trying to create a legacy already, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like I'm about to create a landline.
Like your kids are going to end up playing at Nebraska too, right? Is that what I'm telling you about? So in like 20 years from now, 30 years from now, all that, like,
yeah,
that's good. That's good. So, no, that's going to be that's great. I love that. All right. So the last one here, I just want to see here. Do you see the similarities here? Because that's Redcast Honky, and that's Coach Rule, and you've met Coach Rule in person, and now you've talked to Honky. I mean, there's a similarity, right?
It does look like a similarity. It does what they do. He looks like the before, and Coach Rule looks like the after.
I'm not quite sure what that means because actually, Coach Rule and I are the same age, right? I think we're the same age. I might actually be older than Coach Rule. So that means Honky's only a couple years younger than him. So I'm not quite sure what that means, but no, that's hilarious. We've been making jokes about it all the time that we should start doing like Redcast appearances for like the Coach Rule lookalike in Lincoln. So because I don't know anywhere else in the world that we'd actually ever get money for that, but it is what it is. That's awesome. Did I miss anything? I feel like we've talked quite a bit here. We've been going at it for 38 minutes, and is there going to be? I know that somebody else had sent me a question and wanted to talk about it. Is there anything else like that you want to talk to about Husker Nation about? Anything you want to tell them? I know that you've formed a couple relationships already with like Riley Van Poppel, right? You guys met on your recruiting weekend, and you guys talk every day now, right? Is that?
We talk a lot. We talk frequently a lot. Not every day, a lot. We're still busy. We got a lot of school going on, so. I also have a good relationship with our new our linebacker portal transfer from Florida, Chief.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my guy. I really he gives me a lot of good advice from time to time.
Okay, and you're studying the playbook and stuff already. Have they sent that to you, or yeah, you are?
No, not yet.
No, not yet.
I've just been working out. I've just been doing the workout routines they've been sending me.
Okay, and do you have a relationship with Coach White yet? How's that going? Because a lot of people I think would probably be surprised to find out, and when they do listen to this later, that you hadn't actually met Coach White or anything, even when he was coaching at Syracuse, right? Like you hadn't. Yep, you had zero relationship with him there, even through the recruiting process. So, what about now? Do you guys talk? Have you talked?
Yes, I have a good relationship with Coach White. I'm definitely eager to get under his defensive scheme. I'm no stranger to a three-man front. We ran it a lot during high school, so I like it. So I'm definitely eager to get back to it. Coach White is a very intelligent guy. He knows what he's talking about. He knows his stuff. I think he's going to turn us into a real fearsome defense. He's going to make the black shirts one of the most feared defenses once again in the entire college football.
Man, that's the sort of Kool-Aid stuff. Like, you can pump that into my veins. So, I mean, and you know that Kool-Aid was invented in Hastings, Nebraska, right? So when you talk about like Huskers and Kool-Aid, you're talking about like actual Nebraska stuff going on right there. So, okay, my last question for you is: when you were in Lincoln, have you had muchachos yet? Have you been there?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So next time you go back to Nebraska, you need to, and you're in Lincoln.
I'll actually be there for the spring game.
Okay. Oh, you will?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I would love to meet you in person because I'm going to be there for the spring game too.
Okay.
I go every year. It's my annual pilgrimage now. It'll be 3 years in a row, I think, that I've gone. And I'm really excited to see Coach Rule's first spring game.
Yeah.
And, I would love to meet you. And just kind of, just say hello, if anything, I mean, I don't want to be all fanboy on you or anything, but muchachos, if you want to get a brisket burrito, all right, this thing's as big as your head. Let me tell you right now. And it is, seriously. And Nick over there, go in, say hi to him, introduce yourself. He's the owner. Seriously, I don't ever go to Lincoln without going to muchachos at least once. And last time I went there twice. So yeah. Best Nebraska. I'll call them Nebraska burritos. You won't find anything like it anywhere else. And the brisket burrito is bomb.com. Well, I think I'd like to thank everyone for listening today. And, this is our first LunchCast of the off season. And I would say that I probably got the best guest that I'll probably have all year. So thank you so much, Vincent, for coming on. I'm going to end the show. You can stick around afterwards for a second. And, we'd love to just chat with you for a little bit. And then, if you're listening to the show and you have any additional questions for Vincent, you can find him on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter.
I should have made you put it on your name.
I should notice, but I'm really bad. Oh, okay. My Twitter handle is Vincent Carroll-Jackson. It's just my name.
It's just your name, Vincent Carroll-Jackson, at Vincent Carroll-Jackson. Follow him on Twitter. He's a great follow. He's super Kool-Aid guy. Everything he tweets is positive about the state. He's going to be the perfect Nebraska player. And with that, I would like to just let everybody know that thank you for listening to the Go Big Redcast.
Thank you.
A Herd at Sports Network production.